Mali's Tuareg rebels have finally signed a deal with the government. They say it's the best deal they can achieve. But what about the Tuareg goal of establishing a homeland in northern Mali? And will this agreement hold? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Mike Hanna. Mali's Tuareg-led rebel alliance has signed a deal that could end years of violence and unrest. The nomadic Tuareg people have long felt isolated and unrepresented by Mali's central government based in the south. Their frustrations have led to a series of uprisings over the years, most recently in 2012, one that Al-Qaeda-linked fighters took advantage of, which would later trigger a French-led military intervention. But it's hoped this agreement, brokered by Algeria, could empower the Tuareg and lay the foundations for a more stable, inclusive Mali. But already some groups within the Tuareg alliance have rejected the deal, saying it doesn't address demands for real rights and autonomy.
The implementation of this deal will open new prospects for development, not only in the northern regions, but all regions of Mali. The new institutional framework of free administration will reinforce, without a doubt, transparency in public management and will allow us to better manage security questions, as well as a better and more efficient participation by the population in the efforts to develop our national territory.
This gesture is a desire of the entire population of Azawad to bring back real peace that has been sought for a very long time. This ardent wish comes from the same population that wants to see the peace process completed to everyone's satisfaction. The ceremony that brings us together today has a special importance. It is the achievement of a long and difficult negotiation process with a view to a just and durable solution to a conflict that has gone on since 1963.
This deal stops short of giving the Tuareg full autonomy over the north, but it does give them the right to form elected regional assemblies, as well as more parliamentary representation in the capital, Bamako. The deal also gives Tuareg fighters a role in the security forces and a promise of more economic and social development for the north. Well, let's now bring in our guests. In Paris, Anne Guidicelli, founder of Terrorisk, a political and security risk consulting organization. In Turin, Alessandra Giuffrida, historian on the North Africa region and specialist on Malian politics and the Tuareg nomads. And joining us from Bamako on Skype is Ate Ag Abdallah, spokesman for the Coordination of Movements of Azawad. Welcome to you all. Let's begin with Ate Ag Abdallah. Are you confident that this peace deal will hold, whereas so many in the past have failed?
Thank you for giving me for a question, for giving me this opportunity to speak about this issue. I could not say this SEMA was happy about the deal. I'm not sure this signature will be success because we are not sure about the Malian position until now. Nothing is clear. We have signed. The signature is just a signature. What is important is the promises is the community who guarantees the agreement must do more pressure on the Malian government to guarantee that this agreement will succeed.
Well, Alessandra Giuffrida, quite clearly from that, there is a little bit of hesitation about whether or not this deal will succeed, where so many others have not.
Well, it's difficult to say in that it seems that the way in which these peace agreements have been drafted look very much like the agreements of the 1990s that unfortunately were not really in the end successful, as shown by the rebellion in 2006 and then the last rebellion started in 2012. I think that maybe politicians are short of more creative solutions. It seems to me that if we look at the cycles of rebellions and peace agreements that were reached from independence onwards, then we can see that these wars in the north, these rebellions, are actually used for introducing changes at the national level. In the 1990s, for example, decentralization was introduced, and that meant in the long term that both education and health national services were withdrawn and people were left stranded in the desert without any infrastructure to provide for them, partly due to their economic situation that then led to all sorts of other problems. I do not think that money and development are the magic words for peace negotiations and processes. I think that what we have to consider is the trauma that is being transmitted from generation to generations of orphans, of the rebels who shed their blood in the name of a political cause that requires a political, I repeat, not an economic solution.
Well, let me go, if I may, apologies for interrupting you, Alessandra, but I just want to go to Anne Guidicelli on a point that appears to be crucial. We mentioned the previous deals that have signed. Absent from those deals is also absent from this one, and that is complete autonomy for the North. This remains a major issue, does it not?
Well, you know, as your guest previously noticed, it's obvious that there is much more a kind of international pressure on the two parts of Mali in order to reach finally an agreement, even if that agreement is not perfect. Let's say that, you know, there is the security and the political issue, which is not only for Mali, but also for the whole region, because Mali is depending on Bamako. I mean, it is depending on the international donors, and you know the situation, economical situation. The whole country is very, very bad. So all the assistance, international assistance, is conditioned to that agreement. Once this agreement is reached, after that you can have a new format, a new mandate for the international force MINUSMA, as well as all the development assistance aid from the international community, as well as also another aspect, which is a security one, that the European country will be able to help building the national infrastructures and institutions. But as it has been mentioned previously, it's much more a problem of, let's say, governance, because if it's important and necessary to reach an agreement, it means that also the local governance has to be moved, has to be reformed. And the not reaching an agreement was the last obstacle for that.
Well, Ate Ag Abdallah, you mentioned a little bit earlier you will wait and see whether the Malian government comes through on what it's promised in this peace deal. But from your side, how many of the factions in the north are actually going to go along with this deal? Do you have a united front among those within the north at all?
Yes, sir. The coordination movement of Azawad is made of 4 movements. There are the first is MNLA, the National Movement for the Liberation of Azawad. Then the HCA, the MAA, and CPA. These are the movements who are fighting for the liberation of Azawad from 2012 and until now. There are other movements who are pro-government. These are movements pro-government. They are not asking for autonomy. They are not demanding autonomy or federation or independence of Azawad. There are 2 Tuaregs. There are Arabs. And then our problem today is trusting of government of Mali. We cannot trust them because we have a political problem. we are demanding, we are asking for a political entity for Azawad, an autonomy, for example. Then this government, they are seeing our problem is an economical problem. Our problem is not economical. Is fighting for our right, for the right of population of Azawad to have their autonomy, their entity, their self-administration, self-determination. This is a problem. And then if we can go ahead, the agreement will have been signed, but the following steps, it will be a big problem in discussing, because we want a parliament for Azawad. We want defense and security alone for Azawad as a territory. The government, the way of government and understanding this accord is different from our way. It will be a big problem, the mediation will have a problem to make the two-party continuous, and then the discussion will continue.
Well, let me go to Alessandro Giuffrida. Very clearly, there are different interpretations of what this document actually means, are there not?
Absolutely. And perhaps one of the things we have to remember is that although there can be some united fronts, the ethnic composition of the north of Mali is very fragmented. And within each ethnic group, I think there are other divisions. So it is extremely important to articulate in political terms the local and the national and the regional levels. And to do this analysis properly, I think, requires a very in-depth knowledge of the history of the country, which is unfortunately scattered with attempted genocides against the people of the north, starting from the use of napalm gas in the 1960s over nomadic herders' camps who were just moving with their herds in the north of the country. And until that historical memory can be cleared, until that racial hatred can be cleared between the north and the south of the country, I do not think that we can reach a long-term, long-lasting, durable peace.
Well, as we've heard, this deal leaves open the issue of Azawad's political identity. The region, whose borders stretch deep into the Sahara Desert, have rebelled against Mali's central government 4 times since the country gained independence in 1960. Each time the issue of autonomy and representation was left unresolved, fueling further resentment. As we've touched on, the most recent was in 2012, when Azawad declared its independence. And now northern Mali is controlled by a patchwork of different armed groups with shifting loyalties. Well, Anne Guidicelli, it does appear, you mentioned the issue of pressure coming to bear from outside forces on both the people in the north and indeed the government. But it does appear that many of those interest groups, particularly in the West, such as France, for example, see the issue as one of security rather than a political issue, one about democracy. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a mix of objective, but the priority is mainly security. But in the, let's say, in the European view, you cannot distinguish security and development. So that's the reason why, I mean, the real objective is, the real aim is not to finalize a perfect, long-lasting, durable peace agreement. It's just to start the process in order to launch or to activate the other aspect, as we said, security and development. So it's not only a Malian issue, it's not only the story between the north and the south, it's the story of the relationship with the partners of Mali and the region and its security. So you see that the involvement of many actors in that crisis make finally this agreement just let's say a tool for the other challenges.
Well, Ate Abdallah, Algeria played a major role in broking this agreement. Do you see Algeria as an honest broker in all of this, given what has happened in the past?
Of course, Algerian has its problem in Algeria. They are afraid that if Azawad has gotten his autonomy, will affect the south of Algeria. They have their right to protect Algeria. And then it's not Algeria alone. There are some countries like Niger. They are refusing our autonomy too. There are ECOWAS, the group of West African countries. They are refusing too. African Union, they are saying they are not accepting even recognition our independence, even autonomy, even self-determination. The problem today we are facing is not with Malian government alone. That's why we have decided to sign for this moment, to change the strategy. The strategy for the moment is not fighting. Who will fight? We are fighting who? Malian soldiers are not there. There are UN soldiers, there are French soldiers, and then some countries like African Union, they are ready to send more soldiers to the other territory. That's why I think this understanding of META makes SEMA, the coordination of movement, make us there are no more options. There are no more options in front of us. We have to sign, and then that's why we have signed. But if Malian government does not respect its promises, its engagement, we will continue, and then we will continue our fight to give asking for our freedom, for our independence again.
Well, and Godecelli, the position there that there is no other thing to do at this particular point is a rather bleak way to go into an agreement, is it not?
Well, as I told you, only the Bamako and Kidal cannot have a direct dialogue. Up to now, they couldn't do that. So it's the reason why you have so many brokers like Algeria, finally, but at the beginning there was also the Burkina Faso and other actors trying to do that. So, it's obvious that the Azawad community is divided. But do you think really that Azawad can be really economically independent? It's also another question. Does that mean that the Azawad, the north of Mali, should depend on international assistance and aid? That's the point. It's like we have in France our Corsica island, which is have a kind of autonomy, but it's still dependent on the French economy and French laws. So there is a form of government, a form of not federalism, but a form of let's say what we call decentralization, to allow this region to develop within the Malian economy, and not through international or regional economical and even political assistance, because it will be used as a political tool for different regional actors like Mauritania, like Algeria. So you see how complex it is, and also how limited it is as finding a real format, a real solution adapted to the current, the complex environment.
Yes, well, Alessandro Giuffrida, there the point being made that if the North is to develop, it has to do within the context of Mali itself, that there has to be an intrinsic internal economic development if the peace is going to hold, and if the people are going to have any form of viable life whatsoever. Would you agree with that position?
Well, I think this is a position that has been held over the last 50 years after Mali's independence, and it hasn't really worked. You know, one of the solutions, as I said, of the 1990s rebellion was to, you know, decentralize the regional administrations so that they could have direct access to development funds and develop their own regions. But then another law was introduced after those agreements that re-centralized the management of international aid in the hands of the central government in Bamako through the setting up of an agency called ADIN. So it is really difficult to just think in terms of economic development, as I said. I think one has to really try to be more creative and think of grassroots approaches and strategies to achieve peace rather than top-down economic policies of development that have, as history shows, failed up until now. So in the face of all these failures, one has to ask, what next? What are the solutions can we try to conceive and experiment with to achieve different results, not to be in yet another rebellion in a couple of years' time, because the cycles of these rebellions seem to be shortening more and more and more. So after a peace agreement, there's maybe, well, this time there were 6 years. I think the rebellion before last one was 10 years. So it's just a matter of, you know, whether we can be a bit more creative. You know, policymakers should really ask themselves, why can't we learn from past mistakes and come up with different solutions? I'm more than willing to collaborate, but there seems also to be some sort of a defensiveness towards people who know the history of the country and recruit people who are quite naive about it all.
Well, let me go to, if I may go to Ate.
Is there a political will?
Yes, well, let me go to... Is
there a political will to actually find other solutions?
Well, let me go to Ate Abdallah on that particular point. You heard there the question, is there a political will from both sides to actually get a solution, both from your side in the north and also from the side of the government? Is there the political will to make this peace agreement work?
Yes, we have a good will here to sign and to go forward together with Malian government, but we are not trusting the Malian government. We placed our trust in an international community and our partner in this crisis. And then because Malian government, we have already tested them. We know them more than others partners outside. We know that they are not going to respect their promises. We are not going to do what they have signed. And then that's why we need assistance for the whole world, I mean, the international community, the mediation here, to assist, to stay with us, to follow the agreement until will be done, until everything will be done. A political issue, economics issue, the security and defense issues. This, we have not yet discussed something. I mean, it's still something to have to discuss, you know, in the coming weeks. In the coming weeks, we'll discuss even how the security will be in Azawad territory. Who will take the defense? Because we ask for 70% of the soldiers in the north, and Malian government and mediation, they are saying they're talking about 40% and something like that. And then the policies, the borders, who will secure the borders? Who will? This, all the issues, we came here in Bamako. I'm in Bamako right now. We have signed. And then the signature is not everything. Is not enough to implement the peace. The community international, as I have said already, must do a lot of pressure and then staying with us during the day and the night, to make sure that Malian government will respect and then will do what they say they sign here in Bamako.
Well, pressure needed from all parties, it seems. My thanks to our guests, Anne Goodicelli, Alessandro Giuffrida and Ate Abdallah. And thank you for watching. As always, we would like to hear your thoughts. You can contact us on our program page at aljazeera.com. You can also post your comments at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story or tweet us using @AJ Inside Story. From me, Mike Hanna, and the whole team here, thanks for watching and goodbye for now.